Alternative paradigms of research. What is a paradigm? It is a standard, perspective, or a set of ideas. Paradigm is a way of looking at something. For example, in a classroom, you are relying on lectures and it is a paradigm. And when you shift from that towards a group work, then it is a new paradigm. So you shift your paradigm from listening to the lectures to the paradigm of group work. So that is an example of a paradigm. And when you change the paradigm, what happens? You are changing how you are thinking. So the way of thinking will change when you shift your paradigm from one to another. We will look into this in detail. Before that, please remember to subscribe this channel. Thank you. First, we will look into what is a research paradigm. Then we will go to the alternative research paradigm. Ontology, epistemology and research methodology. These three combines to form a research paradigm. This ontology and epistemology together known as research philosophy. So, research philosophy and research methodology. These two combines to form a research paradigm. Example of an ontological question would be, does God exist? And there are two possible realities in response to this question. The question is, does God exist? And the answer can be, yes, God exists, or no, God does not exist. Then, example of an epistemological question would be, how is it possible to know whether God exists or not? So, in the first part, does God exist? And it comes with the answer yes or no. The second part is like, how is it possible to know whether God exists or not? Hope you understand what is ontology and the epistemology. And together these two forms the research philosophy. Then comes the research methodology. It answers the question, how do we go about discovering the answer? Or how do we find the reality? And this includes what all things? The process of data collection and analysis. So through this we find the answer or we discover the reality. Research paradigms are important. Why? Because they form the philosophical basis of a research project. Research paradigms influence how different school of learning. For example, science is there, humanities is there. They undertake research and their research paradigm influence their work. So, the research paradigm is very important. Now we will see common examples of research paradigms. First one is positivism. They believe that there is single reality and that is possible to measure and understand. And they use quantitative methods in research. And they investigate the existence of relationship between two variables. Next is constructivism. They believe that multiple realities exist and they use qualitative research method like interview, case study, etc. so that they can focus on providing different perspectives. So in positivism, they believe single reality and in constructivism, they believe multiple reality. In positivism, they use quantitative research methodology and in constructivism, they use qualitative research methods. For example, in an office, some 25% of employees are arriving late to work. In positivism, they try to understand relation between the variables like the time of arrival at work and the availability of nearby parking. But in constructivism, they try to find the reasons behind why they are coming late. They look into different perspectives, not just try to relate two variables, but they try to understand the problem, understand the reason behind it from various different angles. And the third one is pragmatist. In pragmatist, what they do is they believe that the reality is continually interpreted and it is renegotiated. Against what? Against unpredictable situation. So the situation changes. So we need to continually reinterpret or renegotiate the reality according to the situation. They combine both the positivist and constructivist principles. That is, they use both qualitative and quantitative methods to investigate any research problem. We have seen dominant paradigm. Now we will see alternative paradigm. What is alternative? It means relating to activities that is different from traditional norms. In earlier days of psychology, psychologists focused and studied only overt behavior. That is the behavior that we can observe. For example, a dog come and you tend to run away, and that behavior we can observe. So that kind of overt behavior psychologists used to study using the scientific methods of observation and measurement. Now what happens? The paradigm is shifted from scientific towards what? Towards interpretive. So nowadays psychologists use interpretive method to study covert behavior. Covert means covered. The same example, when the dog comes, you run away is an overt or observable behavior, and what you feel like nervous or your heartbeat increase, that all are covert behavior or covered behavior. So the psychology, first they use scientific method of observation, and now they shifted their paradigm from that to interpretive. So they interpret the covert behavior as well. The psychology use both scientific methods, the dominant paradigm and the alternative paradigm, that is the interpretive method, to study the human behavior in various situations. The psychological research, both scientific and the interpretive, help in understanding person's behavior, and it helps in understanding the experiences and the insight. So this is the alternative paradigm of the psychology. First it was scientific, and then now it started focusing to the interpretive paradigm. Anyway, psychology used both the scientific and the interpretive paradigms. Let's have a quick recap. We have learned what is a dominant paradigm, what is an alternative paradigm, and the alternative paradigm of the psychology. The dominant paradigm was scientific method, and the alternative paradigm is the interpretive method, and psychology use both these paradigms. Hope you like this video. Please share it with your friends. Thank you and keep smiling.